Shoho Dhatu Malam Nirabhidyata Vai Gudam Tata Payuhu Tata Mitraha Utsargaha Ubhaya Ashrayaha. Alrighty. Got it, or maybe I tried on mine. Let's see if mine works. I'm trying on mine.
Okay.
Oh, disappearing.
Got it.
You got it? Looks like I got it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Utsikshor dhatumalam nirabhidyata vaigudam tata payus tato mitra utsarga ubhayashayaha utshishkshor dhatumalam nirabhidyata vaigudam tata payus tato mitra utsarga ubhayashayaha utshikshor dhatumalam nirabhidyata vaigudam tata payus tato mitra utsarga ubhayashayaha. This real quick. All right. Utsikshor dhatumalam Managees. Okay. Word for word. Uchikshoho, desiring to evacuate. Dhatumalam, refuse of edibles. Nirabhidyata, became open. Vai, certainly. Gudam, the evacuating hole. Tata, thereafter. Payuhu, the evacuating sense organ. Tata, thereafter. Mitraha, the controlling demigod. Utsargaha, the substance evacuated. Ubhaya, both. Ashraya, shelter. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Thereafter, when he desired to evacuate the refuse of eatables, the evacuating hole, anus, and the sensory organs thereof developed along with the controlling deity Mitra. The sensory organ and the evacuating substance are both under the shelter of the controlling deity. Purport. Even in the matter of evacuating stool, the refuse is controlled. So how can the living entity claim to be independent? Om Gana Tamanandasya Gananjanjana Salakaya Chakshurun Manitam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shukta Parakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagvajatam Sahagana Raganaptam Vitam Tam Shajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Laditam Shri Vishakam Vitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimante Bhakti Vikas Swami Nitanamane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimante Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunivari Paskyatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Utshikshordhatumalam nirabidyata vaiguram tatapayus tato mitra utsarga ubayashayaha. Thereafter, when he desired to evacuate the refuse of eatables, the evacuating hole, anus, and the sensory organs thereof developed along with the controlling deity Mitra. The sensory organ and the evacuating substance are both under the shelter of the controlling deity. So we are continuing the description of the Virat Rupa, and there are some more verses to come. And so this is understanding of this sarga. So the beginning of this chapter is an important verse actually. So what is this? So atra sarga visarga sha. So sarga is the creation before Lord Brahma. It's the primary creation. It lays the groundwork for the material creation to happen. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in one sense snaps his fingers and everything happens. But from our perspective, there's from this, how the Sastra explains, there's the things happen. There's a flow of things that happen. So, Prabhupada. Anyways, this verse is pretty straightforward in one sense. It's maybe not like, if not that anyway. If some very big Rasik, Radhabhav Mahaguru Swami were to come in town, they would speak on this verse. This probably wouldn't be the first one, because there's in the Bhagavatam there's many nice verses about Krishna dancing in Vrindavan and kissing the gopis and all those things like that, and playing with the cowherd boys, and joking with Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. There's so many wonderful, amazing things for the Mahaguru Rasik Swami Maharaj to come and speak on. So this verse in particular isn't some super Rasik verse in that sense. But the main point, which is which lays the foundation to understand all these high intricate topics of Radha Krishna and also Lord Chaitanya, and this further points of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which Srila Prabhupada sums up in the purport. I mean, he just states the question that if you we'll just read it. So even in the matter, I'll just use this because it's bigger. Even in the matter of evacuating stool, the refuse is controlled. So how can the living entity claim to be independent? So Srila Prabhupada poses a question in this purport, that how can the living entity claim to be independent? Because if we think that we're independent, or if we have desires which are contrary to the principles of pure devotional service, then we will, there's different things that can be said about that. we'll be Krishna conscious at some level, but we won't become fully Krishna conscious. We'll be Krishna conscious, but like half surrendered. Like, like I accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead and I worship him, but I got my own program going on. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, I'm a little bit independent. So the thing is that we want to be fully dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't want to be independent. Independence in the material world is something to be celebrated. It's something that's very remarkable. And then that's why most of these countries, they have their Independence Day. India, I don't know what day that is, but they have their Independence Day. America has its Independence Day, July 4th, which is coming up, and it's a big celebration. I don't remember exactly when America declared independence or whatever, but I think it was in 1700s or something like that. 77, that's what I was thinking. Thank you. 1776. So, independent. So it's a big thing. And then they celebrate that by shooting off a lot of fireworks. And anyways, for the most part, it's just become just like most of the other holidays in America. It's just like some custom or tradition that's lost its meaning and significance. So anyway, so countries, they celebrate their independence, and it's a big thing, and it's, wow, we're independent, and we, anyways, that can be analyzed also. But generally, when a government or a country becomes independent, then they have their own government, and then they're more in control of their, whatever, their laws and their economic system and things like that. But the thing is, it's an illusion, because we're never independent. So Srila Prabhupada opens up this purport with one sentence and poses that question: that how the living entity can the living entity claim to be independent? So it's a simple thing, but the thing is that by the illusory potency of Maya, I don't know if this is in this canto or not, but maybe if someone, anyways, I could try to look it up and find it. But there's 5 particular kleshas that are imposed upon the living entity when they take birth in the material world. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I know it's in the 3rd canto. I think it's in the 3rd canto. I'm doubting myself. Let's see here. Maybe it's here. Yeah, here we go. So I could try to struggle through this. So Soshar Gay Nrida Tamishram Ata Tamishram Adikrit Maha Moham Chamoham Cha Tamas Chagnya Vitaya. Sorry. So this is, so when Brahma was creating, so he created these things to illusion the living entity. So Brahma first created the nescient engagements like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception or forgetfulness of one's real identity. And there's a purport to that, but we won't go there. There's actually a nice picture. It's in the 3rd canto, but if you ever get the time to see it, it's really nice. So it's a picture, I believe, of, there's a couple that I'm thinking of, but anyway, I'm pretty sure it's this one. There's a picture of Brahma, but anyways, there's a picture of these like 5 things, and then there's like, it's like a little small at the bottom, I think, but then it has like somebody like looking in the mirror, and it's like whatever, like this illusory body conception of life, and it has like a little picture for all these different things. Anyways, if we had that, I would pull that up, but I don't want to waste too much time looking for that. And I'm not sure if I have the picture on my phone. So these things that Brahma created is to perpetuate the illusion of the living entities. Because the whole idea of coming to the material world, living entities, we want to have that false sense of ownership, of ownership, but also of just being independent. And how can you be independent if it's so bluntly obvious that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So that illusory energy is needed there, the bodily conception of life. Because then if you come to the material world, but then it's like you remember about Krishna, and then, Radha Krishna and all these things, and then the Vaikuntha worlds, and how Narayan's supreme, and how everybody there is eternal, then you don't want to remember that in the material world. So you have to forget all those different things. You have to forget your real identity. You have to, and then live in the material world, then there's some bad things that come with it. The sense of death, anger after frustration. Has anybody ever experienced that? Anger after frustration? I experience it all the time. And every time I get frustrated and I get angry, I always think about this verse, because I get frustrated a lot of the time. So I'm trying to do something or whatever, things just backfire, or like, if you're trying to like make something and the whole thing just burns and you just get frustrated and angry or whatever it is, just that frustration. Anyways, Brahma put that there, or created that. And then a sense of false ownership. That's a big one too. They're just, and then we see that the nations, so many things in the material world, people fight over this principle so much that they claim that, well, this is my tract of land. No, it's my tract of land. No, the line starts here. No, it starts here, and then people fight over it like that. And then also too, even within like the small scale, like if some like whatever neighborhoods and things like that, people argue that your tree is coming on my lawn or whatever, so I'm gonna cut it, or like I'm gonna build a bigger fence because I don't want to see your ugly lawn or whatever it is, or to keep your dogs are coming onto my property and passing stool, and like you better do something about it, or whatever it is. So it's anyways, Brahma created all these things, and then these things are also there in the demigods, because like Indra and all these great demigods that we're reading about here, for the most part, some more than others, and some are great are pure devotees. The Vayu is understood as being a pure devotee in the Madhva Sampradaya. So, but this, but these great demigods, they come into that conception also, and then they forget. They don't realize they have some understanding that they're servants of Krishna, but then I'm a servant of Krishna, but at the same time, like I have this big position in the material world. And we see that very much so with Indra, actually. And I was going to speak on that in the last class I gave about the hand speaking about Indra. But we see so much in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the Indra is subjected to so much humiliation, actually. We think that the big post of Indra is so amazing, so great, or whatever. We don't really think that because we got the proper knowledge and understanding from Srila Prabhupada. But we see that Indra is embarrassed so much in the Srimad Bhagavatam, actually. There's a story, I don't know if you're all familiar, but do you all know that, I don't know if every Indra, but at least this Indra in this universe, how he got these eyes all on his body? Do you all know that? You all know that he has eyes all on his body? So Vishnu has eyes all on his body, whatever. He's so many eyes, but not like the universal form. Krishna does them that way. So the story of that is that Indra, he was cursed, actually. And it wasn't eyes before that. He had the female genitals all over his body because I believe he had sex with some Muni's wife or something like that. He did something abominable. So that sage cursed him that since you like, having sex with women so much, then you can have, this female organ all on your body. And so he had that, and anyways, that's so embarrassing. And so he was so distressed about that. He was like, this is crazy, like you have to like get this off of me. And like he like begged the Muni, and he said, okay, like what I'll do is, instead of like you having this, this female genital all over your body, it was covered with it. He said, then you get eyes. So then he changed it to eyes. So then you see pictures, like if you look at these pictures in the 4th canto with Maharaj Prithu and Indra, Indra is covered. He has all these eyes on his body. And so that was because of that. Because he's lusty. And so if you're lusty, it's an illusory body conception of life, because we're not man, we're not woman. We're spirit souls. A spirit soul is not a man or a woman. There's a semblance of that in the spiritual world, but ultimately it's prakriti, which is a feminine energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, but Indra is trapped in this illusory bodily conception of life. And then also to a false sense of ownership, thinking that he's supreme and the Lord of everything. And he, in the 6th canto, it's mentioned that he offended his spiritual master, Brihaspati. And so when Brihaspati came, the spiritual master comes, we offer him respect, just like when His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj came, there was a grand reception, and then when he will come also, there'll be a grand reception. But you can only imagine if he were to come, maybe we don't want to imagine, but if he were to come and then it just like, whatever, everybody, well, I'm busy doing this service, I'm busy doing that, and it just like, we don't receive him, and nobody picks him up from the airport or something, it's like crazy. It's super offensive. It's a bad attitude. So Indra, disrespected his spiritual master. His spiritual master came into the assembly, and he didn't stand up, he didn't receive him, he didn't notice him, or like, hey, Guru Maharaj, how you doing? It's just like, whatever, like, he was enjoying. I think there was people like dancing in front of him or whatever, and it was just like anybody else came through. And so his spiritual master left and disappeared and vanished, so that Indra couldn't atone for that. And so anyways, and then as a result, Indra suffered like anything. And that 10th canto expresses that. He suffered like anything, and he just got, caught in the karma bandhana, this chain of fruitive reactions. He made that offense, and then as a result of that offense, he like engaged some other priests. There's a whole story. The Srimad Bhagavatam, this is why it's important to read these things, because we have to understand our position properly and how to behave and how to be Krishna conscious. So as a result of offending his spiritual master, so much nonsense happened, and then he killed some Brahmins, and then he had to get the bones of Dadichi, and then Vritasura was created because he fried out somebody else, and then Vritasura caused so much havoc and mayhem. And then he killed Vritasura, who was actually a pure devotee and a Brahmana also. And then he suffered for that too. And just like, I think I was joking with you the other day. I was joking with somebody about that, about hiding in the lake. Was that you? Yeah. So and then he hid in the lake for so many years. And there's also a picture of that too, of Indra hiding in a lake. And it's described, there was some old woman coming at him with blood on her chest, trying to embrace him. And then and because of that sinful reaction, he spread that in 3 places. So I believe the sap from the tree, was it water that foams? Do you know that? I don't think. But he put it in the trees, and then into women also. So the menstrual period, you can blame that on Indra. The sap that comes from tree, and I think also water that foams is like contaminated or something like that. So the point is, so Indra did all these things. Due to this false conception life, he was pulled by his senses in so many different things. But the point of this is that, what is this? Tribir gunamayir bhaver ibi sarvam idam jagat mohitam nabi janati mam mevya parvavyam. I think I might be messing up the last verse. So anyways, but this verse is explaining that wherever one is in this material world, one is influenced by the 3 modes of material nature. One is not free. So, Brahma Bhuvana Loka. So, from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, all these different places in the material world. If one is in the bodily conception of life, and one is not fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, one is subjected to be illusioned. So, this is created by Brahma. And also, anyways, these other things can be explained. So, the point is that we are not independent. But due to the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we think we're independent. So, and that's a problem. So anyways, these demigods, they have great significant power, actually. I was just thinking about it earlier, before I came up here to give the class. But it's just, Srila Prabhupada was explaining in the class I was listening to the other day. He was saying that even in the matters of blinking the eye, that there's a demigod that's in control of that. I don't understand that. It's like, it seems so, how is that possible? But the thing is that there's living entities that have like such amazing power that I can't even conceive of like how that even works exactly. Like some things is like, yeah, I can like understand like building a table and then using like Avadut's like, whatever, making popping noises in the back using different power tools and stuff like that. And I could see it and I can understand, okay, like electricity and how that works. And like he's putting it together, it's like I can like perceive of that. But I can't really perceive directly of like how there's like one living entity that's situated in higher planetary systems, and he's controlling the blinking of every single person in the universe. And then all these other things too, evacuating and things like that. And then we were talking the other day about the Prajapatis, how they're in charge of the sex organs and things like that. It's just like, what is going on? So the thing is that, anyways, it's inconceivable for me. I'm just making that point. I'm not going to be able to explain all of those things. But it's just how powerful these living entities are. It's amazing. And then the sun also, by the sun we're able to see. Without the sun, when we wouldn't be able to see. So many different things. These demigods are extremely powerful. They're powerful, but power is not a qualification for devotional service, as we understand from Prahlad Maharaj. This verse, what is this? Manye danabhijana rupata paushutaljas tejas papada paraporusha buddha yoga naradanai hi bhavanti parasya pumso bhaktyatotosha bhagavan gajayutapaya. So Prahlad Maharaj explains like so many different things. Anyways, you could pull up that verse. It's amazing actually. He lists all these different things about how one, anyways, I have to see, I don't know if I got it right exactly. Oh, yeah, next one. So he explains all these different things. Dana, rupas, riches. Abhijana, aristocratic family. Rupa, personal beauty. All these different things. Because we may think that, the one is very strong, so then, anyways, we don't really think that so much. Maybe we would think that if we were in the heavenly planets, that strength is definitely, if one is very powerful, one is a great devotee. Because we see that, Indra is a great devotee, he's very powerful. Brahma is very powerful, he's a great devotee. The four Kumaras, they're very powerful, they're great devotees, like that. Or maybe even renounce. We may equate that this is a qualification for devotional service. Varuna is very powerful. So Prahlad Maharaj explains all these things. So we'll read the translation. So Prahlad Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. So the thing is that Supreme Personality of Godhead isn't satisfied by an extreme amount of physical strength. He's satisfied by devotional service. And so even these great demigods, they're very powerful, very intelligent also. It's, we don't move in that kind of company, so we don't really understand. But the Srimad Bhagavatam speaks in such a way so that we don't become bewildered by that, and explains the temporal position of the demigods, and how they're influenced by all these different mundane qualities. Lust, anger, greed, and things like that. But the point is that by engaging in devotional service, if one does that, and purity, anyabhilasita sunyam, jnana karman yanavritam, if one engages in devotional service properly, following in the footsteps of the previous Sataras, Satovrite, then one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prahlad Maharaj cites the instance of Gajendra. So Gajendra, we have this picture right here. What was Gajendra doing? Gajendra was an elephant, and he was enjoying with female elephants. He's a king of the elephants, though, so the best of the elephants. The elephant king. So, we're not the king of anything. So he was enjoying in that way, and he was suffering. And there's also this nice clip by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. It's like one of those shorts. That's, I guess, is what YouTube calls them. I really like it, actually. And I listened to it some months ago, and then I listened to it again yesterday. So he's making the point that Gajendra was suffering for so many thousands of celestial years. And so, a lot can be said about that. So he was suffering, and then it's described that he recited some prayers that he knew from a previous life as Indradumna Maharaj. Or maybe I don't think Indradumna Maharaj. Anyways, I don't remember if that was Indradumna. Was he a king that was going and meditating? Anybody remember from the 8th canto? Because I know there's Indradumna Maharaj from the Jagannath pastimes, but sometimes like Satyavata. Anyways, Satyavata is like that Muni, and then there's Satyavata Maharaj in the 8th canto. Anyways, just to make sure I'm not mixing anything up. So Indradumna, he was cursed to become an elephant. So anyways, he remembered these beautiful slokas that he was chanting. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point that we should regularly recite prayers, and we should learn prayers because, so we can remember them at the time of death. But then I also, too, like to think, at least for myself, that it's important for me to try to learn some different slokas and things like that because, whatever my next birth may be, if I become an animal in my next life, then maybe I can remember some of these prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Already, Indradumna Maharaj or just Indradumna? Okay, thank you. So, anyways, I'm already an animal in this life. So His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj was making the point that so Krishna waited for so long for Gajendra to develop the right consciousness. And sometimes we see that in Krishna consciousness. Like we're like, we like understand like, yeah, I should surrender, and yeah, I should do this, and yeah, it makes sense, this and that, and like, whatever. Devotees explain things to us, and like, we understand, but then like our heart really isn't there, so to say. Our consciousness isn't really there. And so Krishna allowed Gajendra by his mercy to suffer for so long in that water for thousands of years so that he can come to the right stage of consciousness and understand the point that I am a servant of Narayan, that I am a servant of Krishna. And so when his consciousness was right, I mean, he already had the prayers and everything like that, but when his consciousness was like Paka, then Krishna came, because then he was ready to, the mood was there to surrender. Just like we may go from the deities and, chant, or I always chant, whatever. So many things that, oh, Krishna, like, I want to be your servant or something. But that mood really isn't there, because it's like, I want to be Krishna's servant, but at the same time, it's like, I want to enjoy this material world. So, Krishna may put us into difficult circumstances sometimes just to boil the impurities. Srila Prabhupada at one point said that we should boil the milk in our society. So we should, focus on becoming more pure in that sense, becoming free from anarthas, and becoming what's what I'm looking for? But more advanced in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna may put us in a situation like that. He did that to Gajendra. Gajendra was suffering. I mean, we may go through some mental turmoil here and there. I don't think anybody's had a crocodile biting at their foot for maybe not even for 10 seconds. I don't think anybody's been bitten by a crocodile here or an alligator. So that's very painful. Actually, anyways, it was famous growing up. It was a Crocodile Dundee, I think. I forget that guy's name, from Australia. The only celebrity I know from Australia, the crocodile hunter. So, anyways, that's a whole American bob of just like, and nobody's, unless they're from America, they're not great or like worth mentioning. So anyway, so there was that guy, that crocodile hunter. And so anyway, so he would like go and like wrestle with crocodiles and stuff like that. And that was like a famous thing on TV. And so anyways, I remember one thing from that show. So one thing is that like, the point I think was that that the crocodile, that their jaws for like closing are very, very powerful, but then their jaws for opening, it's like you can't like pry open their mouth for like nothing. But if you go and you like grab a crocodile and you can easily like hold its mouth shut. So anyways, so Gajendra, that crocodile was clamped down on his foot. And he was suffering, and he was bleeding, and there was nobody that could help him, actually. Because, I don't know, they could come and like try to kick that crocodile. But then also, too, that crocodile, we can assume that it was a celestial crocodile. It wasn't no regular crocodile that we find in this material world. It was a heavenly crocodile. So it probably had even more crocodile strength. So anyways, the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can really get into the different things like that and understanding the situation at hand. So Gajendra was really struggling with that crocodile for thousands of celestial years. And so also celestial year too, if we want to bring in that perspective. So I think one day of the demigods, day and night, I think is 1 year on earth time. So he was struggling for so long with this crocodile. So, but the thing is that he was struggling, and he was suffering, and materially it wasn't good, just like whatever. If we were to go and take Gajendra's horoscope to, the big Jyotish Acharya, Guru Maharaj, who knows. Anyways, I got a picture the other day from Nepal of some big, huge Guru Swami, and he knows astrology, he knows Reiki, he's a psychic, he's a spiritual healer, he's all-knowing, and he's whatever, I don't know the point. Anyways, but that was like some descriptions about him. So the thing is that we would have, could have looked at Gajendra's horoscope and, he's going to suffer so much materially, and I'm seeing in your chart that there's going to be some severe problem in your legs, and it looks like it's a crocodile, so don't go near the water or whatever. But the thing is that materially, Gajendra, suffered like anything. But he obtained the highest spiritual fruit, which, if we just have to suffer just a little bit, just even if we suffer so much in this life, not that we're like fired up about suffering. Anyways, what are we suffering? There's some things that go on in the mind, and then a couple of times we stub our toe, and then maybe we eat something that hurts our stomach a little bit. and then, and then maybe we can't sleep at night. Other than that, it's like ain't really like that much suffering going on. But, like we go out on Harinam, we went out on Harinam. I was allowed to go out on Harinam. It was ecstatic. And we went out, whatever, this George Peterson Harinam thing. That was a lot of fun. So the thing is that, like, especially in the Kali Yuga, there's so much miseries there, but the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and the Sankirtan movement is like, it's really easy to get, actually. And it's really easy to experience that, to feel it. Just like we have that one of my favorite pictures, I feel it. And then there's an old video that goes along with that. So there was this guy, I don't know where he's from, but we were on Harinam one day, and and then this guy comes up and he just like dancing with us. Like, anyways, that day was like a really motored out day also, and everybody was just like whatever. And then this guy came and just like made the day, and he was like dancing and going crazy. And then, and then we were filming it, and then he like put his face all up to the camera, and he was just like, I feel it. And then he was like yelling Hare Krishna, and then every now and then we like run into him. So he was feeling it. What was he feeling? He's feeling the nectar of the holy name. He was feeling the potency of the Harinam. He was fortunate in that sense to feel it. And yeah, whatever, he's probably super drunk too and all those things, but he was experiencing the Harinam Sankirtan. And so there's so many crazy things that make, whatever. Anyways, we may experience some miseries in our life, but we can also experience the nectar of Krishna consciousness. And that nectar is ecstatic, amazing. And so if we experience that, the thing is, what it matter if we experience that, we can experience that. All we have to do is just put ourselves in the sunshine of the Sankirtan movement, or put ourselves in the moonshine, because Krishna also explains that this Sankirtan movement is a prime benediction for the humanity at large, and it's like the moon. It spreads its cooling rays. Because the material world is a blazing forest fire. People are blazing in the fire of unrequited sense gratification. There's this longing. People, they say that in the material world that, oh, I love somebody, and then there was that love that got away. And so in my heart, I'm always thinking that, what if, this person, if I would have just met them or stayed with them, but it wasn't meant to be. And in my heart, I'm always thinking of this other person, of this man, of this woman, or whatever it is. So in the material world, that's all it is. It's just a story of unrequited love, of putting our love, our emotions, our happiness in material things, and not receiving satisfaction from that. But if we put our love and our happiness, and we put our, not just, some feeling, but if we put our full self into the fire put ourselves into the sun, the moon of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, then we'll be blissful, we'll be ecstatic. Will be in ecstasy, and not the kind of ecstasy that they sell on the streets. You take this and then you whatever, you're ecstatic for some time, and then you come down, and then generally after that people start contemplating suicide. But it's a bliss that just keeps increasing. No drug can upkeep with that, actually, because people that take drugs, there's a tolerance. You take drugs for X amount of time, and then you have to take more and more and more and more. Then eventually it becomes lethal. But Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, there's no bar. And I always say this, and I'm gonna keep saying it, but you don't hit a plateau like that I've experienced this amount of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, and that's the most I'm gonna get. It's not like that in Krishna consciousness. It's just like you hit that, and it's like, wow, that's the most ecstatic ever, and then next week most ecstatic ever, and just keeps going. We don't read in the Srimad Bhagavatam or in the teaching of Lord or the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, or hear any acharya that say, okay, well, you get to Krishna consciousness at such a point, and then that's it. Like you hit the maximum of Krishna consciousness you could get. You've experienced the maximum amount of happiness in Krishna consciousness. It's not like that at all. Material happiness is like that. There's a saturation point where it just gets boring, dull, old. That's material happiness. But spiritual happiness isn't like that. So all this is the nature of Krishna consciousness. And so in order to experience that, we have to relinquish this idea, this conception that we are independent. And so this Virat Rupa explanation is there to make that point, actually. And so particularly in this verse today, it's talking about matters of of passing stool. So there's a demigod in control of that, and we're not independent in that sense either. And also, too, that's the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because if one doesn't pass stool, then one becomes, then the toxins accumulate in the body. And then there's a saying for that. Anyways, Ayurveda discusses that. I forget, amla or something like that. I forget the exact Sanskrit word. But impurities. And then, anyways, that goes into the blood and things like that. So then if one is having troubles with that, then one, anyways, take Triphala or something like that, some type of laxative. So it's the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be able to relieve that. And then also to mention a couple things on the subject. I remember one time Vishwachitra Prabhu gave a class. He made a very nice point that speaking about Maya, that by the illusory potency of Maya, that one is passing stool, but then he's not annoyed by the smell of it. That there's the Maya's potency is there in that sense. But we also should understand, too, that, and I guess I'll pull up this verse. Let me see here. So this, I'm not going to give a whole class about passing stool, but when we pass stool, it's a nasty act, and it's like, it's generally not the part of like the big celebrities, they come up and they talk about, well, I just released this album and I was on tour and all these amazing things, and people don't really go into like, I was passing stool or whatever. Usually that's not the topic for, or on the newspapers or things like that. Maybe some crazy people will probably get up on there because you don't know what to expect nowadays. But let me see here. But let me just go back a couple. Okay. So we see also, because it's important to know, it's important for Krishna consciousness, because it was talking about the bliss of Harinam, Sankirtan, and all these things, and then we were talking in the beginning that, Mahaguru Swami absorbed in Radha Krishna Bhav and Radha Prem. He's not going to speak on this verse. But it's important to understand this because we should understand our position and also how the Supreme Personality of God is working in His energies, and then because we talk and this and that, and we eat, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead eats, and also the Supreme Personality of Godhead passes stool. So I'll read a little bit about that, and I'll explain why. So this is Lord Rishabhadev. So this is in the 5th canto. And so everybody should read the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so this pastime, so anyways, Lord Rishabhadev, we understand that he instructed his sons, Bharat Maharaj. That also leads to the, anyways, that's an important part of the 5th canto. So he instructed his sons, 9 of them were great brahmanas, Nava-yogendras. So anyways, that's mentioned in the 11th canto. And then he had some other 90 sons also, so 100 sons total. So he instructed his sons, and then after he instructed them, he left home and he became avadut. And so he was, wandering around, and people were, cursing at him, and like all these different things. So he exhibited this particular, anyways, it's called Jada Yoga. So he did things that were out of the norm, absorbed in love of Godhead. So this is some of the things that he did. So when Lord Rishabhadev saw that the general populace was very antagonistic to his execution of mystic yoga, he accepted the behavior of a python in order to counteract their opposition. Thus he stayed in one place and he laid down. While laying down, he ate and drank, and he passed stool and urine and rolled in it. Indeed, he smeared his whole body with his own stool and urine so that opposing elements might not come and disturb him. There's a purport there, but I won't read it. So anyways, Prabhupada makes the point that he passed stool and urine and smeared his body with them so that people would not disturb him. So he didn't want to be disturbed by materialistic people. Because Lord Rishabhadev remained in that condition, the public did not disturb him. But no bad aroma emanated from his stool and urine. Quite the contrary, his stool and urine was so aromatic that they filled 80 miles of the countryside with a pleasant fragrance. And let me see here. So, anyways, the point I'm reading this is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when he passes stool, it smells very nice. And it's mentioned here that it filled for 80 miles of the countryside. So the point is that when a living entity in the material world engages in these things like passing stool or whatever he does, a conditioned living entity, it's nasty, it's abominable, it's asat, it's temporary. But when the Supreme Personality of Godhead does such thing, it's worshipable, it's amazing, it's transcendental. And there's a transcendental quality to it. And it's important to understand this because the point of the matter is that if we have misconceptions upon approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, many things will happen, but we may develop a concocted philosophy, a deviation. But we may also, too, we won't understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in truth. And that's why it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma cha me divyam, evam yovrati tattvataha. So karma, so divyam, so his transcendental activities. What are his transcendental, so what we should understand his transcendental activities and truth. And so, of course, we understand that from the Tattva Darshinaha. And so that is explained further in that chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What is that verse? So, tadvidi paripatena parishvashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshina. So you approach the self-realized soul who has seen the truth, you inquire submissively, you render service unto him, like this, you serve him, questions like that, and he can impart that knowledge onto you. Because he has seen the truth. So, so we approach a tattvadarshina so that we can understand the janma karma of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the proper, so divyam, because we may understand, Krishna was born in Mathura. So many people understand Krishna was born in Mathura and he did this and did that, and Ram did this, Ram did that. They understand the karma and the birth, but they don't understand it in truth. Tattvataha, because they haven't heard in proper disciplic succession. So evam parampara praptam imam rajasaya vidu. So you have to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the parampara system from a tattvadarshinaha, and then we'll understand the transcendental nature of his birth and activities. And then that verse continues. So janma karma shame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha tva dehan panarjanma naitimameti sorjuna. So then by understanding those in truth, one is liberated. One doesn't come back to the material world. He is delivered. So we have to understand Krishna in truth. And by understanding Krishna in truth and properly, then pure devotional service develops. One is not a pure devotee if he is thinking that, that Krishna did this and did that, but then here he did that wrong and that's improper and he's material. And then people say like that Krishna was born and, there were some things that were a little weird, but then as time went on, he became pure. He became self-realized. That is not proper. So many things they may say. Even this Lord Rishabdev, we see the amazing shiksha that Lord Rishabdev gave to his sons and things like that. And we also understand too, even prior to this, that I think Maharaj Naba, I forget exactly, I think it was Naba, that he specifically worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead to have a son that would be born. So then he was satisfied, he was given that benediction. But people, they don't understand these things. So we have to understand these things in truth. And always know that there's a difference between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That should be very clear what that line is. We should not ascribe mundane material qualities under the supreme transcendence. That that thinking that Krishna is due to some karma or something like that. Or he's bound up in that sense. Or that he, whatever, so many different things, that he's subjected to the laws of the material world. He's completely independent, Swarat. And that's why the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it makes that point. Anyways, I won't pull that out. There's so many different things that could be analyzed in that. But that first verse establishes who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is and what are the characteristics. And that's also an answer to the first verse of Vedanta Sutra. So, it's important to understand these things, so understand the functions of the jiva, the function of the Supreme Person. Because we can also understand this first too. Prabhupada's making the point in the purport that the living entity, how can they claim to be independent? But the Supreme Personality of Godhead can't claim to be independent because he is independent. Swarat. That's not, we're not Swarat. We're not independent. We may be minutely independent. Whatever. We may I don't know, so many that we may have our own business and this and that, do these other things and have this sense of false independence. But it's just in a little limited sphere we're the controllers of something. What I say goes, like that. But what the Supreme Personality Godhead says goes, and it's been going since the beginning and since the middle and the end, and there's no end to it. Whatever Krishna says goes. But we should understand these things, and we should explain these things also, so that different living entities can understand. Another aspect of understanding this too is that sometimes people, they pretend to be God, or they claim to be God, or whatever it is. So if that person is God, then we can see, like with Rishabdev. So Rishabdev, he passed stool and he rolled it, and it smelled amazing. So when you pass stool and you roll in it, you become a laughingstock of society, and then you smell like crap. There's also another story too. I don't know if you know this one. There was one man. Prabhupada tells the story, but he was going to die or something like that, and so he was. It's a funny story actually. Anyways, but I don't know exactly the. Anyways, I think I have some understanding of the purport to it. So a man was cursed. Anyways, he was going to die, and so Yamaraj was coming from him. So what he did was that he got a whole bunch of stool and rubbed it all over his body. And so the idea was thinking that, like, Yamaraj won't touch me because I'm disgusting, I'm nasty. And so anyways, it's a joke, because it is you could rub yourself with so much type of stool, but that's not going to stop death from coming. So, but these pretenders of God, they claim to be God, this, that, and the other thing, but they don't do anything mystical, they don't do anything magical, or whatever. Maybe they'll just just to make a point, they'll just rub stool all over their body to claim that they are God. Anyways, then we can laugh at those people and take pictures. So there's a difference between Bhagavan and the Jivatma. And so that should be understood and that should be recognized. And this Virat Purusha, it's meant to emphasize that, but really it's, of course, meant to emphasize that we are dependent upon him, that we're dependent upon everything in our lives, actually. That, the air we breathe, the food we eat, our hands, our legs, this touch sensation, in order to, procreate and to enjoy that, we're dependent on all these different things. So much dependent to think properly, the brain, the mind, we're completely dependent. And the Bhagavatam is really hammering that point. And so these slokas are trying to emphasize that point upon us, that we are not in control. And so Srila Prabhupada would stress that point very much so. In his talks, very often, he would stress the point that we are not independent, that we are controlled. And so similarly, we need to hear that over and over and over again, because the tendency is, like we cited in the beginning of the class, is to be eluded by Maya, put into illusion by the material energy, by which we think that we are independent and that we're in control. And then we like that, we move on and on and on. So we have to take seriously Krishna consciousness and always remember that we are not independent, but we are dependent. And if we have that proper understanding, then the Srimad Bhagavatam can open up to us, and we can understand things in more depth, and then we can begin to approach some of the higher aspects of Krishna consciousness, in the sense of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how he interacts with his devotees, the position of his devotees, and his Leela also. Because we won't. What will we understand if we think that we're independent? If we're independent, and Krishna's devotees are independent in that sense, and then it's just, we won't understand anything properly. We'll look at it, we'll hear it, but then we'll misconstrue it, and then funny things will come out of our mouth about Krishna's pastimes or whatever, about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And then, so many different things that can be said. Anyway, I don't really want to elaborate on that, but funny ideas will come out. And so that's why it's important that we have to have a proper philosophical understanding of Krishna consciousness. And our acharyas, they go through, Srila Prabhupada wrote so many different purports so that we can have a proper understanding of Krishna consciousness, so that we can become Krishna conscious. So these are important to understand. So if we have that proper understanding, and we have that proper mood, and we have that proper attitude, then we can begin to experience the nectar, the bliss of Krishna consciousness. And we can stay with it also. And then when we experience that bliss and that nectar and that happiness of Krishna consciousness, then we don't take it cheaply. And then we relish that. And then that inspires us to go further and further in Krishna consciousness. Just like, not just like this weekend, but practically all the time, this weekend and, yesterday and times before that, and maybe today and in the future, all the different devotees going out on Sankirtan, are relishing the nectar of going out on Sankirtan and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And Bhakta Jacob yesterday did 12 Srimad Bhagavatam sets, which is a lot. Just to do one Srimad Bhagavatam set is just amazing. We'll just speak of 12. And then he did he did 3 to 1 person. And then there's like an amazing story about that he that they came. Anyways, I won't do the story justice. But there's an amazing story in regards to that, about how this lady came and then she's inspired, and then they gave him like $1,000, and then she gave another 75 as a tip, and then I think she gave another $300. So she gave practically $1,400. Why is that? It's different ways it can be understood, but from the purity of the devotees, from the inspiration of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, because it's for everybody. And so the devotees are going there, they feel that bliss and feel that happiness. And it's an amazing happiness, actually, to be going. And there's nothing that compares to it, actually. I got the opportunity to distribute some books for some time. I hope I get to distribute books more in the future. But I remember those days of just going out and living in a van, traveling, distributing books. And so many different things that come with that. So just doing that and just distributing books, and then just really feeling happy, feeling Krishna conscious and being Krishna conscious and living that life of just fully absorbed in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, and getting an understanding of what that's like. And that was, my Guru Maharaj's mercy upon me, and also the senior devotees that were instructing me, their mercy, is everybody's mercy upon me. Because last thing I wanted to do was distribute books. Last thing I wanted to do was talk to anybody in the public. I didn't want to go outside, really. It was a lot for me. But it was a mercy upon me. They pushed me out there. They forced me out there. And it was austere in many ways. I've related that somewhat to different devotees as telling Ali Krishna of getting to go distribute books and McDonald's, Steak and Shake, Kentucky Fried Chicken, nail salons, Whole Foods, Home Depot, just every single store. I was like, when I first had to do that, I was like, oh my God. Like I felt like my mind was shattering from just being completely taken out of my comfort zone, 100%. I haven't really experienced anything like that since then. But it was the devotee's mercy. So anyways, the point is that it's very ecstatic, and it's very blissful, and it's just amazing. So just to be able to be engaged in that service and to be able to do that, it's memorable. And I remember devotees used to always tell me when I was going on books, and different things like that. But they would say, oh, those were the best years of my life. Prabhupada disciples, so many devotees would say that the best years of my life was going out traveling, distributing books. And they would impress upon me to not take that for granted. And at the time, it was difficult for me to really really realize that instruction, because I was doing it every single day and things like that. But then, as time went on, not being engaged in that way so much, able to now appreciate those days I was traveling more, and so many things I'm able now to appreciate more. But now I'm able to understand exactly what they were saying, and so many things I realized now that I didn't really understand fully, just because I was just in the fire of Sankirtan. And so that was really ecstatic. So those devotees are going out and they're doing that. Anyways, I don't know if any of them are listening, but don't take that for granted. We may be in this position now of being able to go out and distribute books, and being in the temple, all these different things that we're able to do right now. It may not be like that in our life fully. And there may be some problems here. We may be, hankering for this, hankering for that, lamenting for this, lamenting for that. But the point of the matter is that things may change, our situations may change, and we don't want to just pass away our this moment when we have an opportunity to fully engage in Krishna consciousness. We don't want to just pass it away, just in the sense of just taking it for granted. That, oh, okay, I'm here at the temple, and yeah, I got facility to wake up early, and yeah, I can go on books and go on Harinam, and I have association. Yeah, okay, whatever. We don't want to get into that mood. If we do get into that mood, then Krishna may make an arrangement for us to get purified. And then we may be without association for, some many years. And then we may be like Gajendra in that sense, suffering. In order to come to the consciousness of appreciating the association of devotees and the privilege, the mercy of being able to go out on Harinam Sankirtan, of going out on book distribution, of being able to cook or whatever the services is, because that's all mercy. So we should be on guard of that, because so many situations change in life, so much so. And anyways, I remember they were telling me that, and I was thinking, well, how will things change? But then this thing changed, and that thing changed, and going here, going there. And of course, it was under the guidance of superiors, but I still always think of those days. They're very blissful days. So those devotees that are doing that, they're relishing that, and it's amazing. It's ecstatic. So anyways, as one devotee used to always tell me, Madhavendra Puri Prabhu, he's like, don't change a thing. So don't change a thing. Continue distributing books. Keep that as one's life's goal. And if one's not distributing books, then keep it a forefront to assist those that are distributing books. Because Lord Chaitanya, if we engage in that way and we put ourselves in that line of serving the Sankirtan mission, then we take shelter of the Sankirtan mission, and also, by taking shelter of the Sankirtan mission, we take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because the Sankirtan movement is under his jurisdiction. It's not under the control of some demigod or this or that. It's under the control of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we want to be controlled by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. That's what we want. We want to be their slaves. We want to be their dog. We want to be the dog of great Vaishnavas. That's what we want. We don't want to be Indra or Brahma. We don't want those things. We don't want to control the material world, this or that. We want to be controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so the way to do that is to serve the Sankirtan mission and to serve the Sankirtan devotees. And to serve those devotees also too, it's not that one has to, it's not that one has to, one can also serve those devotees who are serving the Sankirtan mission. So one should have that consciousness. One should develop that. One should aim for that. And we should become Krishna conscious in that way. Big things we can talk, Radha, Krishna, this and that. I can pull up some slokas of the Rasa Leela and give some commentary on that, and we could talk about this gopi said that gopi said this. We can discuss those things. There's applicable time for discussing those things, but I'm not going to discuss those things. I'm not qualified to discuss those things. But realistically, right now, right here, the reality of it is that we can engage in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, and we can serve those devotees. Just like Lord Chaitanya said, Gopi Bhata Kamalodor, Dasudas Anudas. I want to be a servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis. So we can realize that instruction right now by doing that. So the point I'm trying to emphasize right now is don't take the situation that we have right now and Krishna consciousness for granted. Yeah, there may be some problems here or there, whatever. Anyways, in my own life, I could say, well, I'm having this problem, I'm having that problem, and I can relay that to you all. But in my own life, yeah, I have my problems, this, that, and the other thing, whatever. But when I go out in Sankirtan, when I'm in association of devotees, those problems become minuscule. And they're not, and it's like whatever. Because when we become Krishna conscious, the natural position is to be happy. And then too, we may have some problems or whatever, but then we see them in the perspective that Krishna is trying to teach me something. We should always remember that whatever situation we're in, because we're surrendering to the Sankirtan movement, that Krishna is trying to teach us something. It's not that, whatever, that is just, I'm in this situation and there's no point to it, and I'm just suffering. There's no reason to my suffering. It's just causeless suffering. So there's not causeless suffering. It's the thing is that we can look at the pastime with Gajendra, just like I was trying to make that point in the beginning of the class. Gajendra suffered for so many thousands of years. What are we're suffering for some 5-10 minutes. He was suffering for so long. But then he was calling out the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna came. So Krishna will come. Krishna will come for sure. And Krishna will save us. And so Krishna saves us, and what do? when Krishna saves us, he, cuts off that crocodile material desires that are nagging at us. Because the thing is, it's material desires. That's really the problem, is that we want to enjoy in this material world. So when Krishna cuts that off, and then, with full force, we run for the Sankirtan party of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with full force, because we're lagging behind. It's like we hear the Harinam, but then sometimes we're on Harinam, the book distributors, they get they get a little disconnected. That was happening yesterday. And so anyways, I was saying we have to slow down some. It's like a venereal problem with every Harinam. So that's sometimes our position, that we get a little bit disconnected from the Harinam, and then we're far back away, and then whatever. Then somebody grabs onto us and is like, I'm a Christian, about Jesus Christ, this and that, and they just want to preach to us, and then we're pulled. So, but we want, so we pray for that mercy, and then Krishna cuts us off. And so when Krishna cuts those material desires, or he removes our suffering, then at full force we should run towards the Sankirtan movement. And we should run, whatever. We should grab some cartels at that point, grab some books, grab a mridanga, sing very loudly, sing very enthusiastically, and go forward with full force. Because otherwise, if we're suffering, and then Krishna relieves that suffering, but then we just go back to material things, what's the point of that? It's useless. It's foolish. So Krishna's mercy, as I relayed in another class, is that he won't give us material things just to keep asking again, Krishna, give me this, give me that, give me that, give me money, give me beauty, give me this, give me that. Krishna won't give that. But what Krishna will give is he'll give his mercy so we become free from these attachments, and he'll put us in the cooker so that our consciousness develops very nicely to that where we could fully surrender onto him. So these are some things to consider. We're not independent. We're dependent, but we have to be dependent on the Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission movement, and dependent upon those generals, on those soldiers, on everybody that's assisting that Sankirtan movement. And if we do that, we'll be blissful, we'll be happy, and we'll be fired up, and then people will come and give us, $1,400, no problem. So many Srimad Bhagavatam sets will go out, more and more will go out. We'll go on a Harinam, people will dance and chant, it'll be ecstatic, it'll be fun, it'll be blissful. So, Hare Krishna. On there, if there's any questions or comments, we'll just take one or two, because I went over time. Yeah, I would do it.
No, I don't. Did he say something? I don't see
No,
anything.
he didn't say anything. Somebody's calling?
I'll check.
Okay, maybe I would can ask this question. They might be doing their own thing, because I think they were up late last night.
Yeah.
He's not answering.
Thank you, Kalki Prabhu. I like the point you were making about dependence. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes in the second chapter this verse about Vishaya Veda, that you should become, cross over the Vedas like that. But in the purport, Prabhupada writes that you should become dependent on the goodwill of Krishna. And I wanted to ask you about boiling the milk.
Yeah.
How does that process actually take place? Is it by, hearing, or is it by making mistakes? Is it by association? How does that milk become purified?
Yeah, so many different things. So Prabhupada boiling the milk to make it thick. So the idea is that Prabhupada wanted devotees to come in and then really take seriously the process of Krishna consciousness. Because during that time, people would come in, and we see that sometimes, not so much here, at least within the core. But people come in, they live in the temple for some time, but they don't understand the philosophy, really, or they're not really that serious, or whatever. Just like I was hearing in a class the other day, that, people, they take second initiation, but it's just some cheap thing. And then they're second initiated, but they don't know any slokas, and, whatever. They're not truthful and honest. So Srila Prabhupada wanted, in the sense, the devotees become more pure and more serious about Krishna consciousness and display saintly qualities. It's if you have hundreds of people in the temple, but then nobody knows, nobody's read the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they've been in the temple for 10 years. It's what? Or the Bhagavad Gita. One guy's second initiated, and then he never read the Bhagavad Gita. So, and he's been a devotee for like some 20 years or so. Anyways, it doesn't make it any better, but anyways, unfortunately. But he grew up in a devotee family. And he grew up in a devotee family, and I think he's second initiated. Anyways, I'm pretty sure he's initiated. Anyways, regardless of whether he's initiated or not, he grew up in a devotee family. He never read the Bhagavad Gita. So that's a good instance of milk being watered down. So anyways, so the point is that Prabhupada wanted us to be serious about the process of Krishna consciousness and then display those saintly qualities. To be Krishna consciousness, just like we see somebody that we see that's Krishna conscious. It was like, wow, it's like inspiring. And then we see somebody that's like not very Krishna conscious. It's like, ooh, I don't want to be like him, So unfortunately. So you have anything else? I had one verse, but anyways, I don't need to quote it. This is just about dependence. But Nally, I think he has something. So I thought you had something. Okay. Ali, you had anything? Mataji, did you have any questions or comments? Alrighty. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.